Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. My name is Lucy Howe, and I am the VP of Higher Ed for Oxford International Education Group in Canada. I'm happy to be bringing you today the first of our Industry Insight series as part of Career Academy Canada. And I'm thrilled to have joining me today Olen Anderson and Amanda Burt from Work Ed in the US. And I will pass, first of all, thank you guys for joining me. And I will pass to you, Olen, to introduce yourselves, please.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Lucy, for the warm introduction and the opportunity to be a part of your first series. And big thanks to the Oxford International Education Group. I'm Olen Anderson. I'm one of the co-founders and president of WorkEd. It's an honor to be here. And I want to introduce my esteemed colleague, Amanda Burt, our head of development.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting us, Lucy, and we're very happy to be here and excited to be part of this series.
Thank you so much. Olen, what is WorkEd? Easy question for you.
Boy, just come right out with it, huh? WorkEd has been something that we've been building over the last decade. My co-founder, Jesse Ojala, and myself, we're building a new world. This is the super highway to prosperity and joy for kids and families. We see all too often so many students who are thoughtful, hungry, driven, who with just a little bit more of insight at an earlier age could really set the trajectory of their life in better ways and end up in financial freedom and an amazing career, debt-free, something that they've chosen and something that they're confident is something they want to make a life and make a career out of.
That's wonderful. Is it open to adults as well? I like the sound of that. And you are US based, am I correct?
Correct. We're US based. We do have some team members in Canada and not too far from you, Lucy, in Vancouver. And then we also have team members in New York, all the way all throughout California.
That's wonderful. Question to you, Olen. Now, I know from your bio and so on that you really are a true entrepreneur. When did that start? Was it when you were selling lemonade on the sidewalk or at university? Like how did it sort of grow in you?
Yeah, really good question. Being an entrepreneur was something that was never on my mind. It was, going through high school, going through college. I never had thought about starting a business. I wasn't one of those young stories, selling, vacuum cleaners to, the neighbors or anything like that, or the kitchen supplies. It was something that much later in life, after I graduated from the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, that I met my co-founder, Jesse Ojala, and I was pursuing my passion, which is international education, your passion as well, Lucy, Amanda as well. And that was where I saw an opportunity to create work-based learning programs that felt that they were more meaningful and more of a valuable experience than I was seeing at the college I was working at, and also kind of nationally and globally.
It's always been in you, I'd imagine. It's only going to keep growing, I would hope. You never stop being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, well, certainly once you start, stopping is a big challenge. Hopefully hopefully that doesn't come to that. But and you hear this all the time. I mean, you really do have to have grit. Grit is something that is going to make you successful in any career role. And if you're going to start a business, there's an accountability and a responsibility you have to your team to make it successful. So that's kind of the risk that you take, and the more understanding you have of that risk at an early age, and the understanding of, is this a viable opportunity before you stake your claim on starting a business, hopefully can help you create more viability and success for yourself.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure that you're already a very successful I would say, startup, or not startup anymore, startup business. And I'm sure coming with that responsibility is stress. But I'm sure excitement as well, but it's a fine line. The balance is a fine line. So what keeps you up at night? Is it a stressful endeavor, or is it just pure excitement and adrenaline?
It's actually my head of development. She makes things very difficult. Have quite the opposite. She reassures me. Amanda gives me confidence during the day as well. But it's definitely the thought that all the different hats you have to wear, and wanting to make sure that you're providing the right level of support for your team. You're able to secure enough time to think about the vision and the strategy of where you're headed, and try to solve problems before they become big ones. But ultimately, that we have an amazing team that believes in what we're doing, that signed on for this vision, this mission, and wanting to make sure they feel that this is something that they feel is meaningful, is worth their time, is something they find purpose. And because of that, wanting to make sure that they have a soft landing into this world, and financial freedom, not only for our kids, we want financial freedom for our team as well. So that's probably the overarching most important thing that we're thinking about.
Yeah, that's very relevant. We have in our career colleges across Canada, or in Vancouver and Halifax, international students who may be straight from high school, or they could be sort of early career or even mid-career, but they've chosen to come to Canada to pursue a vocational education with the hope of securing a job through a co-op and so on. And it's a nerve-wracking experience for sure, especially if English is not your native language. Do you have a couple of tips for success to give people motivation to keep going?
Yeah, sign up for the Oxford International Education Group programming. Tip one. Checks in the mail.
Very smooth.
Checks in the mail. Let's see. Overall, and I'm really, again, just thank you for this opportunity, Lucy. Like, this is our world, Amanda's world. This is your world, and was my original passion. It's studying abroad is just life changing. It instills a confidence in yourself to be able to thrive in a new land, meet people from all over the world, and swim, right? And swim in a new world. It's such an incredible experience. And I know the Oxford team, that's what you guys live and breathe every day. And big shout out Vancouver. Could not be a better place to talk about soft landing. In terms of for international students, looking out at the horizon and trying to understand where, where does their path lie? And there's multiple pieces. Being an international student, depending on where you're coming from, having a good grasp of the culture, how to join a team, how to be successful on a team, no matter where you end up, if it's back home in another country or in North America, for example, that experience is so valuable. So that's kind of step one. Then from there, and students, I'm sure, hear this a lot, but kind of the ultimate unlock is being able to discover careers in a fun and engaging way that gives you the reality of what you possibly could be getting into. The biggest problem, I think, for students is the not knowing. You don't know what you don't know. So the more opportunity to get into vocational education, while learning about Canadian or American culture or wherever, that's so valuable. And then you start to stack the professional development layers, being able to work with people all over the world. What Oxford provides, that is ultimately that makeup, those layers are what's going to give a student confidence. Yes, I'm heading in the right direction. This is something I want to pursue. I can see the path ahead. I don't have all the answers yet, but I know I'm headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, you don't have all the answers yet, but you're on the right path. Thank you so much. Amanda, your turn. So this might be a vicious rumor, but I understand that you've been in the industry for over 25 years now in international education, travel industry. over the years, you must have found that you've had many transferable skills and that they've proved useful, such as leadership, project management, very simple attention to detail. Could you expand on that for me and how important they've been for you?
Absolutely. And yes, you're right. I spent most of my career in the international education industry, which was fantastic because it enabled me to have the growth we've just been talking about, living in different countries. I lived in France for a while, lived in Amsterdam, then obviously the big move to the US as well. So it's definitely a culture shock. Learning to, even moving to the US was a culture shock from working with people in Europe. It's very different. So for me, I think that helped as a base for those skills. But the kind of key transferable skills were your basic run-of-the-mill ones: your organization, planning, attention to detail, multitasking. I think what helped me coming into this new role with WorkEd was some of the knowledge areas as well that I'd had in the past came over with me, like contracting. I spent years contracting hotels or coach companies or restaurants. So now I'm contracting with school districts, but the attention to detail and looking over those, 50-page contracts is helpful. Also insurance. I work with insurance here for WorkEd, making sure that we have all the necessary insurances for what we need. And that's what I did in my prior role as well. So those skills came over. For me, the biggest adjustment that I had to face was more of a culture adjustment. So I'd obviously worked in all these different countries, but I'd always worked in very much a corporate environment. The startup environment is so different. And especially where our company was, let's say 4 years ago, is very different from where we are now. We're definitely a mid-sized company now. And when I came on board, we were very much a startup. And there's less kind of formality and red tape, which everyone would think, wow, that sounds fantastic. But you'll be surprised how much you actually rely on those kind of established policies and procedures. And when you don't have any and you're kind of writing them for yourself, it's kind of quite nerve-wracking. So I think that was the biggest culture shock. But what I loved about it was the ability for startups to think fast and pivot if things are not going right. And that just is not possible in a large corporation. That's very slow and takes all these layers of hierarchy to get anything done. In a startup, if something's not working, that's it, we're changing it. And that is such a great attitude. And it's what gives startups those, that big kind of advantage. And also, I think everybody who works in a startup very much has a can-do kind of hungry attitude, which you don't always find in larger institutions. So you combine that with being able to move fast and also having the constant innovation, and it's a recipe for success for startups. So that's what I've enjoyed.
That's really actually inspirational, actually. And congrats on being a medium-sized company now. It takes, what was it, 4 years, you said? Something along those lines.
Well, I've been with the company 5.5 years, but obviously the company was established before myself. But yeah, I'm just showing
I
the
see.
change
Yeah.
for those few years. Yeah.
Okay. And with WorkEd, literally not quite guaranteeing, success in career development, but how on earth do you stay on top of all the trends? The workforce is changing rapidly. How do you know what skills are relevant for your customers, the students, the young kids, the high school age kids? It's constantly changing, isn't it?
It is, and that's a great question, actually. I'll answer it in two parts. So the first part is we work with students all the way from kindergarten all the way to college age. So if we look at the younger students, say from grades 1 through 8, what we do there is we want to expose those students, like I think Olen was explaining earlier, to as many different pathways as possible, to give them the opportunities of what they could possibly do in those future-facing industries. So we're talking drones, robotics, cybersecurity, for example. But our main aim at that age is not to necessarily have them choose which pathway they want to take. We expose them different ones, but what we want to do is build those core soft skills that are going to set them up for success regardless of which path they take. So collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, being a team player, those kind of core skills will set you up for success regardless of the pathway that you choose. So that's our aim at the younger age. Once we get to the work-based learning, so that's the students high school and above, our approach there for staying on top is bringing industry to the table. And that's lacking in education across the board. If we take cybersecurity, for example, our head of cybersecurity, Ben Crenshaw, he came from industry. So he worked for Oracle for a number of years. And now even in education, he kind of keeps on top of what's happening in the industry. He goes to all of the conferences out there for cybersecurity. He's actually just published a book about the fact of, you need to bring education and industry together. So he's on top of that, staying on top of that, so that the credentials and the certifications that he's preparing our students for are the skills that they're going to need when they leave high school and go into those entry-level jobs. They don't necessarily need to go to college to get amazing entry-level jobs paying 80,000 plus. So that's how he stays on top, by bringing industry to the table. And in fact, all of our programming at the high school level is written in conjunction with industry.
Wow.
Also, let's say California, the state we work with the most for school districts. Obviously, California is known for being a state for innovation. It's also the state with the most open cybersecurity jobs. I think last time I looked, 70,000 open jobs right now for cybersecurity in California. So that goes to show that our programming is very aligned with state workforce needs as well.
That's so insightful. That's crazy. 70,000 jobs in cyber.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Olen, I realize at this point, I haven't actually asked you what kind of programs WorkEd offers. Now, Amanda just referenced cyber. What else do you, what do you do? Is it sort of summertime or after school, or how does it work?
Yeah, so, Amanda gave a great description of how our programs are industry built, and then also aligned with, upward mobility, in-demand opportunities. So that's even in pre-K, we want them to, we're planting the seed for STEM in particular, allowing them through fun project-based learning to discover a lot of the fields Amanda mentioned, with positive mentorship from the local community. And as they build, they get to middle school, and then we have 17 different types of careers they can discover. As Amanda mentioned, robotics, cybersecurity, AI, music production. We do have a lot of creative and technical, like game design, which is all areas students want to be a part of. That's giving them the understanding of how to work in a team, how to take something from zero to launch. And each week or each couple weeks is another project that they build, and then at the end of each week, they're presenting their projects to their parents at one of our fun community engagement nights.
Nice.
And I think the biggest crux, because at the end of middle school, there's a looming decision, right? And oftentimes, I know I wasn't even dreaming of this. What was your mindset, Lucy, coming out of middle school into high school? Were you set on your path, or was it something that you were kind of, still in your own personal discovery mode?
Yeah. Oh, well, my career advisor, when I was, 15 or so, said I should be a travel agent, which was not far off, but that involved just stamping the back of paper brochures with the name of the company stamp. So that wasn't too inspiring. So I kind of knew, but not exactly. So yeah, I see what you're saying.
And, ironically, you maybe not your first role, you got to grind a little bit to kind of get to the role you really want to be in. But I think they gave, it's good advice, Lucy, knowing you and where you are today. And so at that crux, the more career discovery we have, the more confidence that for a student to know, who am I, what are my talents and passions, and what are career opportunities that exist that ideally are putting me in a high wage, upward mobility track. And then coming into high school, instead of floundering like myself, headed in directions I thought I knew and really had no clue. We hope that they're going into middle school or going into high school with that confidence. This is the career direction I want to go in. Artificial intelligence. I know that I'm on the technical side, or I'm on the project management side, or I'm a creative person. So we're trying to give them that that toolbox early. And also what we're seeing, Amanda and our team, is that the more confidence you have in your direction, in knowing where your North Star is, it really opens up the student to not be so worried about what's right in front of them. I think for so many of our international, American, Canadian teens, that lack of confidence in their direction is ultimately a big part of what's leading to depression, is leading to the malaise of not knowing. And that can cause so many other unintended consequences, where we see students, and we hear this all the time from parents, from our educators. Our students know where they're headed now, and they're excited to be a part of these pathways. As we creep up later into high school, we have work-based learning programs. So now we have all this data. Students, where are they headed? What are they passionate about? What is their focus? And then we bring in companies, and we've got amazing sponsors from Amazon, Oracle, IBM, a lot of different companies who are part of our ecosystem that impact students in California and New York. And that's a big challenge for companies, that it's part corporate social responsibility. But I think what's been amazing to see is that, particularly in New York with our work-based learning programs, companies are coming for the CSR, but they're staying for the diversity and amazing recruitment into their pathways. And now we've got students who are launching, $80,000 full-time careers out of our programs. One of our guys, Akeem, just put a down payment on a home in Queens for his entire family, and he's now he's the breadwinner. We always love to add, Akeem just turned 21 years old. Yeah, it's real. We're seeing this. We want to continue to evolve this model, but we're trying to, this is the super highway to prosperity and joy. And there's a place for kids and there's a place for families. And if you can pick one kid up, you can pick their entire family up, their siblings, and then you start to build around that. So it's been amazing to see, but we still got a long way to go.
Yeah, and I think that ties in really nicely to what we're doing in Canada as well. I'm sure you've heard there's a huge skills gap in Canada, and in order for us to grow with our vocational programs, we have to take into account the skills gap. So, for example, in our Halifax Career College, we're focusing on healthcare. So that's continuing care assistant, which is the senior healthcare, and then launching next month actually the early childhood education. So we're going from youngsters to wonderful seniors, and that's really such a skills and job shortage. And then in Vancouver, we're focusing on hospitality management, which of course with COVID that was decimated. Vancouver is a wonderful spot for hospitality, as you know. So again, I see what you're saying, whether it's the kindergarten age or middle school or high school, or even our young adults that may be doing a complete career change. Like vocational education is crucial. To finish up, I just want to ask both of you if you could have one sentence, how important is vocational education to you? I'll start with you, Amanda. Like, it's not just your work, this is your passion, right, for these youngsters?
Yeah, I think for me, it's the being able to test out things before you make that choice of what you want to do. Because if I think back to myself, I never had any of those opportunities to test things out. You were put in a track depending on you're good at languages. Okay, you're going to go off and do this. But I could have been great in science or STEM. I have no idea. I was never given the opportunity to try all those different things. And just seeing the students' reactions to making those little robots, whether they're in second grade or third grade, going home, showing their parents, having the parents come in. We have parents who were skeptical about, game design. No, I don't want my kid just sat looking at a video game. They're not going to be able to get a job doing that. They come to our parent evening, they learn about the careers in game design, and they're like, okay, you can continue playing your games, you can continue making your characters, doing your art. There actually is a way forward for that. So it's not just for the student, but it's for the parents as well, because you'd be surprised how many parents have no idea what jobs are out there. They just don't know. They know what they've been told. Oh, go to college and be a doctor or be a lawyer, the traditional ones. They have no idea that students can start learning cybersecurity, get certifications, leave high school, no debt, go straight into a high earning career. they just don't know that's out there. So for me, that's the passion, seeing not just the students' eyes kind of opening, but their parents' realization of, oh, okay, this is fantastic. Because a lot of parents feel like, I can't afford to send my child to university or college, therefore they're not going to have success. And that is absolutely not the case. So I think demystifying those kind of, you know, pre-held assumptions is fantastic in what we do.
Thank you. And Olen, Mr. President of WorkEd, final thought from you?
I can't follow that. Amanda, I absolutely, you can see Amanda and I, we've had a lot of calls together. We have a good cadence. Truly, I don't really think there's much more than I could add. I think it's, you know, Amanda said it, the chance to test out careers before you make, you know, incredibly important time and financial decisions, which can not only affect yourself, which can affect your family. I don't think there's anything more important than taking a little bit more time to make an informed decision rather than throwing yourself into a boat and seeing where it goes. I think it's so valuable. I would agree with Amanda.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you both so very much. It's been a real pleasure to have you here. Worked.com, am I correct? Is that worked.com for anyone who wants to look into it? But thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining. And we will be back soon with another episode of Industry Insights from Career Academy Canada. Thank you, Olen. Thank you, Amanda. And bye, everyone.